interesting fact about me, around the time I was going through high school, I ended up going through a rather profound Agatha Christie phase. I have no idea why. I just grew to really like her books. I mean, we had them in our family home kind of on bookshelves or in the loft, so eventually started getting them down and I started reading them. I loved reading Agatha Christie. And I ended up reading quite a lot of her works, such as Murder on the Orient Express, The Body in the Library, Sparkling Cyanide, and The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side. I really liked Agatha Christie. So it should. Hell, even last year I went with my family to see a play at Salford titled The Mousetrap, which is actually based on her work. I just grew to really love Agatha Christie. So it should come as no surprise that my personal favourite Doctor Who episode from Series 4 is the one that features Agatha Christie, The Unicorn and the Wasp, the 7th episode of the 4th series, first broadcast on the 17th of May 2008 and written by Gareth Roberts. Now, supposedly when I looked this up, Gareth Roberts had said that he considered himself like a member of units kind of within the Doctor Who team, and that he enjoyed writing for Doctor Who, but he didn't like writing the kind of big episodes where everything kind of changes the Doctor Who canon. He preferred kind of the fluff stuff that's in between, the episodes that are just enjoyable. And you know what? The Unicorn and the Wasp is just that, enjoyable. So the 10th Doctor, of course played by David Tennant, and his companion Donna Noble, portrayed by Catherine Tate, end up at a garden party in 1926, where they encounter Agatha Christie, played by Fenella Woolgar. Now, while the Doctor had mentioned that he would have loved to have met Agatha Christie on a previous occasion, it's not all smooth sailing when they meet the crime writer, as once they met her and are getting to grips with the other guests, they suddenly find out there's been a murder. And so the Doctor, Donna, have to work together with Agatha Christie to find out who exactly the murderer is and why they did it and all of it. But then again, it's not quite as simple as that either, because you've got a murderer on the loose, but then you've also got a jewel thief who's in the kind of area who may be looking to steal a precious jewel belonging to the hostess, known as the Firestone. So they have to deal with, one, a burglar on the loose, two, a murderer on the loose, and three, a giant wasp. As it turns out, the murderer, or at least part of it, is actually an alien in disguise, a giant wasp. Now, Donna does point out quite early on how silly this all is. Like, Agatha Christie didn't wander around surrounded by murders. Not really. I mean, that's like meeting Charles Dickens and he's surrounded by ghosts at Christmas. Well, yeah. Just, she knows how silly it is that Agatha Christie didn't go around surrounded by murder. But, you know what? They have fun with it. I mean, they have to whittle down a list of suspects, which includes the hostess, played by Felicity Kendall, her wheelchair-bound husband, portrayed by who was also a colonel, played by Christopher Benjamin, their secretive son, played by Adam Rayner, a mysterious London socialite, played by Felicity Jones, and a local area reverend, played by Tom Goodman Hill, as well as the most of the staff. Okay, to try and find out who the murderer is. But then, as time goes on, it's also evident that each of them is hiding his secrets, and by the end, you realise that every single person, like in most Agatha Christie murder mysteries, every one of them had a secret, even if only one of them was the murderer, to which I won't give anything away here about the episode, because really I think you need to see it if you haven't yet. But yeah, you realise that not everything is black and white. As in real life, quite a lot of it's kind of shades of grey. People lie in order to make themselves feel better. But you know what? It's brilliant. And the other two things I want to mention about it, it does also address another one of history's great mysteries, and that's the disappearance of Agatha Christie. Because Agatha Christie actually did go missing for a brief period from the 3rd to the 14th of December 1926, before showing up at a hotel a few days later. Now, some have kind of identified over the years why her disappearance might have been, At the time, she was going through quite a bad breakup with her husband. He had been cheating on her, and some people think that she had kind of disappeared in order to either kind of because of grief about over her divorce or to try and frame her husband for something. But I felt after watching this episode, I wondered a lot less. I mean, okay, I know Agatha. Relax. I know Agatha Christie didn't go missing because of a giant wasp. But let's just say, before going into this episode, I did know. I did wonder a lot about Agatha Christie's disappearance because it was part of her character. When you go into her books, you had to know about her disappearance. But I found myself, after watching this episode, wondering a lot less about it. I mean, as I said, I know she didn't go missing because of a giant wasp, but in a way, I kind of thought, well, if we never know what happened, then that's good enough a reason for me as any. I mean, okay, she didn't go missing because of a giant wasp, but yeah. I mean, I guess we'll never know, and sometimes that's one of the great things about life, is that you never truly know about everything. The one last thing I want to say about this episode that I personally love is that Gareth Roberts and the rest of the writing team, they managed to do a cute trick with this episode of they managed to fit in a load of Agatha Christie titles into the dialogue. And not just into the dialogue as well, but into the circumstances. I mean, with David Tennant wearing his brown suit throughout the episode, you could technically argue that that's a reference to the Agatha Christie novel The Man in the Brown Suit. But they also fit in a load of subtle and unsubtle Agatha Christie titles into the dialogue. Sometimes they address it outright, with ones such as Donna saying that next thing you know, you'll be telling me it's like Murder on the Orient Express. They all did it. But then others they managed to slip quite handily into the dialogue. For example, when Agatha retrieves a clue early on that's a scrap of paper, and they look at it and it's like, what's that first letter, N or M? Referring to the Agatha Christie novel, N or M. There's also one kind of when they first spot the giant wasp. He's like, it can't be real. It's a trick. They do it with mirrors. Referencing the book, they do it with mirrors. There's a load of them sprinkled throughout the book, such as I said, they do it with mirrors, N or M. Oh god, what are some others? Oh god. I had these all down at one point. Cat Among the Pigeons, Dead Man's Folly, Cards on the Table. There's a load of them scattered throughout the books. If you're an Agatha Christie fan, definitely check this episode out and see if you can spot all the subtle references they managed to get in there. If you're not an Agatha Christie fan, I think you'll enjoy this episode plenty. I do think it is one of those episodes that, like most murder mystery adaptations, you can only really watch it once properly, because after that, well, you know who did it. But you know what? It's still a fun episode that I enjoy rewatching, purely for comedic value. And I love this episode. It may not be the strongest of Series 4, but I honestly didn't think Series 4 had a single bad episode. And you know what? This, for me, if this is one of the weaker episodes, I think Series 4 was a pretty good series. So, with my Guilty Pleasures marathon, that now means I only have 3 series left. Next one up, Series 5. My personal favourite for that one is The Lodger. What do I think of that? Well, I'll let you know. Until then, see ya.